as you know, today's Labor Day. If you live in the United States, if you don't, then it's just Monday, September 7th for you, wherever you are, or the 7th of September if you're European or Australian or anywhere but the US. And hopefully you're not working, but if you are working, then hopefully you're getting paid more than usual to do so. If you're planning to go somewhere where people are working, like let's say a bar or a restaurant, don't stay home. There's a pandemic. What's wrong with you? But if you do, maybe go get takeout or, something like that. Tip the people working extra. Even if it's a place you don't normally tip. Like if you're at Subway, just tip them. Anyway, something that I realized is that I don't know the origins of Labor Day. I've been enjoying the spoils of Labor Day, as it were, not this year in particular, but having a paid holiday for my pretty much entire adult life without knowing why that thing exists. I was thinking there might be other people out there who don't know the origins of Labor Day, so I thought that I would maybe share the knowledge today that I have just acquired, and then we will all know something more about Labor Day other than it being the day that people normally barbecue and go to the beach and go to Vegas and, spread coronavirus. So Labor Day goes back to the late 1800s, 1894 specifically. It basically was a holiday created to celebrate American workers, the laborers, right? Which you all probably got that part. But do you know why it happened at that time? Neither did I. At the height of the Industrial Revolution, which was the late 1800s, the average American worker worked 12 hours a day, 7 days a week, just to eke out a living. Yeah, some of us work 12-hour days now, but those of us who do that are generally professionals who are answering emails and editing things and doing clicky things. Back in the late 1800s, it was people in factories in terrible conditions and very unsafe. There was no OSHA. As a matter of fact, OSHA didn't come along until the early 70s. This was a very unregulated world, and people just pretty much literally worked themselves to death. So as the economy moved from agricultural to industrial, and factories and manufacturing, things like that, labor unions started to rise up. Unions began organizing strikes and rallies to, protest the conditions in which their workers that they represented were working. A lot of these events turned violent, not surprisingly. You had the Haymarket Riot of 1886 in Chicago. In 1882, 10,000 workers in New York City took the day off unpaid to march, which essentially became the first Labor Day parade. So these kind of rallies and walkouts and events kind of kept happening all over the US. And there was basically a big movement around creating a working man's holiday. In May of 1894, employees of the Pullman Palace Car Company in Chicago went on strike, protesting wage cuts and the firing of union activists. So the strike by the Pullman Palace Car Company employees went on for quite a while, for more than a month. On June 26th of that year, the American Railroad Union called for a boycott of all Pullman cars. This crippled railroad traffic nationwide. To break the strike, federal troops were called into Chicago. Federal troops coming into a city to break up civil disobedience. That doesn't seem like something that would happen today, is it? This unleashed a wave of riots that led to the death of at least a dozen workers. So in the wake of all this, to get people to settle down, Congress did something, which I know it's crazy that Congress would take an act and actually do something. It was June 28th of 1894 when Congress passed the act that basically created Labor Day. President Grover Cleveland signed it into law, and Labor Day became a national holiday. So here we are, 100 plus years later, still celebrating this holiday that's basically the one guaranteed paid day off for the American worker, unless you're an American worker who doesn't get the day off because you're servicing those who did get the day off, which is kind of messed up. There's your little Labor Day education. Now I know the origin of Labor Day. You hopefully already knew it, and you're not an ignorant dude like I was until recently. But if you learned something from this, great. I got most of this information from a History Channel article. So, credit where credit's due, because it's not like I went and majored in Labor Day studies in college. Anyway, thanks for tuning in. Check back, I don't know when, just click a thing to subscribe and or like this and leave a comment. Wear a mask. Avoid crowds. Stay home unless you can't stay home because you're an essential worker, in which case I'm really sorry.